what they call them fountain drinks. What's up, guys? Welcome once again to the Safe Continue podcast. My name is Ryan Robinson. With me, as always, two of my best buds, Shanae Howard.
Sup?
Tom Shelby.
Check out the Sizzler.
Yeah, so...
Sizzler suicide drinks.
Shanae has never been to a Sizzler, which is alarming.
Is it the same thing as Chili's, basically?
No.
Or Applebee's?
I literally just told you.
Is it like Applebee's?
If you want to impress a lady, you don't really got money for Red Lobster right now, you go to Sizzler because it's the next best thing, because they're comparable in that way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's seafood?
Basically. It's surf and turf.
Ah.
Okay?
Do they have cheesy biscuits?
Those are called cheddar biscuits.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, for someone who works at a fine dining restaurant, it's weird that you don't know what a cheddar biscuit is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway. All right, so last week when we were together, we Tom, you showed us what remains of Edith Finch.
I did.
I wasn't around for the end of that. Shanae, how did you feel at the end of that game?
Sad.
Yeah. Does it progressively bum you out more the farther it goes in?
I feel like with Edith Finch, because I was not by myself and Tommy was guiding it.
Yeah.
That I just like plateaued on the bummer.
Mm.
I think that there are many different ways to interpret the story that game has to tell.
Sure.
And I think that you can interpret many of those stories as being quite happy.
Expound upon that.
Sure. So, like, I don't want to give spoilers away.
Sure.
But you can go watch our full playthrough if you would like to. There are people that die in that game that... Okay, so, like, for instance, there's this one guy who dies, right?
Right.
Everybody dies, but he's been kept... not kept in captivity. He's been isolated from the world for a long period of time. And just as he goes to see the world for the first time in decades, he dies.
Killed.
Yeah. But as he is walking out of that place, he talks about how wonderful it would be to experience life, if even for a year or a month or a week, and he keeps counting down. And he sees a very beautiful sight before he dies.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think there are
I wouldn't say
definitely stories in it that can be seen as happy.
No,
I don't necessarily think
it's
it's happy, but I definitely see as like not the worst death ever.
Yeah.
Agree to disagree.
You know, and one of the cool things about that was there were some stories that like could have been taken literally, or it could have not have been.
Sure.
Because some of them like went into the realm of like the supernatural or things like that. And I remember asking you about one of them. Is she literally talking about like I guess I can't really give the example because I don't want to spoil it, but
right.
Is she really talking about the thing that she says is happening right now? And you were just like, she could be.
Yeah, well, so the devs say it's up for interpretation.
Yeah.
The way that I interpret Edith Finch is that, yes, all of those crazy mystical things are actually happening.
Right.
That's the way that I see it.
Yeah.
Because of certain things that have been said to be canon. So when the game came out, there was a big Reddit post on the connection to the Unfinished Swan, and the developer of the game said that yes, that is canon. And if that is canon, then we know these crazy magical things happen in this universe.
Sure.
So.
And it starts off the family being cursed. And
Right.
like a boat.
Sure, but
house
I mean,
thing.
you could interpret that in different ways. Is it cursed or is it coincidence, right? Like,
Because I feel like people, they talk about bad circumstance a lot.
it's like the
as
whole
a curse.
the whole poltergeist thing. Like those deaths happened, but no one like definitively says, yeah, that's a curse that exists in real life, right?
Sure. And I guess so I guess after going through that with you, going through that game with you guys, and other not comparable experiences but similar gameplay experiences with you, Tom, like and thinking about those titles and I guess how they are defined. And I guess what I wanted to ask you, Tom, serious question: what is a video game?
You're saying this because of our short conversation we had the other week.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ryan and I wait. First of all, what format are we going with? Because we're gonna have trivia or not?
Yeah, I was like,
Are we gonna have a can I finish or no?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you just want to get into this first?
Because the can I finish?
Okay.
Because Shanae, I feel like you would really like to have one of those. You'd like to have an opportunity to get one of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
So last week after the show, Ryan and I had a brief discussion about video games in general, and that I think that as an industry, they need new terminology for what this product is that
Sure.
they sell, because not all video games are games,
Sure.
right? We have things like Tetris. Tetris is obviously a game. Street Fighter is obviously a game, whereas something like Firewatch or What Remains of Edith Finch, I wouldn't necessarily call a game. You don't win those games. You finish them, much in the same way you finish a book or a movie.
It's kind of honestly just very similar to a visual novel.
Right. So my whole argument was that we need new terminology for this. And Ryan's first instinct was like, well, what's it matter? Let's just call it that. You know, that's what we've always called it. And I'm like, well, yeah, but like if you think about other mediums, I think about like movies. The word movie comes from moving picture, much like a few years after that we got talkies, right? But that is not the terminology that the industry uses. The industry uses film, right?
Yeah.
Or cinema, which is more correct than movie, right?
Right.
The movie sounds better.
Sure. I'm just saying as an industry, I do feel like there does need to be new terminology. Now, what do I consider a video game? I consider a video game to be something like that, Tetris, Street Fighter, or whatever. Now, will I still call Edith Finch a video game? Sure, because then people know what I'm talking about. You know, I'm not saying interactive video experience, right? But, you know, I do think there's a difference.
Okay. So that is with that line of reasoning, Edith Finch and other games of its ilk are not video games.
I don't think so. I think you do gamey things sometimes in some of them. A lot of times you don't, right? Like in Gone Home, you don't do anything that's particularly gamey. You know, Edith Finch, like there's the bathtub scene and you're playing with stuff there, so that's sort of gamey. But no, I don't think they should be called video games. I will continue to use that terminology because that people will know what I'm talking about when I say that, right? If I say interactive visual experience or video experience, a lot of people are not going to understand what I'm saying.
Sure.
But I do think it needs to be expanded upon, and I think it will be eventually.
Okay. Right on.
You know, the term video game was coined with Tennis for Two, which is the first time we played a game with video, right? A game with video. So I don't know.
Right on. All right. That was actually probably more of an answer than I was expecting with that question, but I'm actually glad that you answered the way that you did.
Yeah.
I got a bit ahead of myself though, because I did forget that we have some trivia to do. Do you have that? Do we have that prepared?
Yeah. So the trivia section,
Okay.
we are calling
Can I finish?
Can I finish?
Okay,
Right.
so today is a new edition of
So
Can
the
I Finish?
winner of Can I Finish gets the right to cast Can I Finish.
Wait.
Do I have to roll for this?
Oh, cast. Okay, I thought you were like, is there a movie based on
So
that?
if they are interrupted, they can use the term "Can I finish?" and then that person who interrupted them cannot speak for the next 10 minutes.
10 solid minutes.
I am out of this because I know the answer to this. Right? I am giving the questions.
Okay.
All right.
Lay it on us.
Okay. This one, you guys should already know, but I know both of you have seen the answer to this.
Okay.
Okay, because a long time ago I decided I was going to do, bi-weekly meetings with a calendar that I gave to you guys every
Turok
month
Dinosaur Hunter.
and all of that with trivia questions on there. Ashley Johnson, who portrays Ellie in The Last of Us, what TV show was she on as a little kid, and who did she star as?
Oh.
Punky Brewster.
You know what? Well, let's make it easier. Not who did she star as? What TV show was she on as a child actress?
Are hints allowed? Because I'd like to know.
Twin Peaks.
No hints.
It was a sitcom, I bet.
Not even like a like.
Growing Pains.
Growing Pains is correct.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
Chrissy Seamer? What was the last name of that family? Stever, right?
The Pains.
The Pains, sure.
Yeah.
Major Pain.
Wasn't
was the
Michael J.
dad.
Fox on that show?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did they have 2 daughters and a son on that show?
Don't remember. Didn't watch a lot of it.
Didn't either.
I just remember watching that show, and
I just thought it would be an interesting thing because it is something that I know you guys both knew. At some point knew. You may have lost it somewhere, but...
yeah. It's not something that you keep at the forefront.
Ryan,
Yeah.
you've gained the right to cast Can I Finish?
Cool. I like that. I like that.
Now, I thought about, and I may still implement in the future, a consequence for losing Can I Finish.
Ooh.
But you already get the bonus of also at the
I
end
know,
of the end
I
of the
know.
show.
But to really stick it to you,
To
At
really,
the-
you know, because
really
what was
sting ya.
happening was, I think this episode's going to go long, so I'm just going to tell this anyway.
Okay.
I was grocery shopping yesterday,
okay.
and I was going
What were you
down,
buying?
just regular groceries. I was going down the canned food section,
Oh yeah, that's.
and I saw a product that Ryan is fond of called Vienna sausages.
Oh man, delicious.
And I thought it would be really funny to buy a can of those, and whoever lost this would have to eat those.
Oh,
here.
I would not.
Oh man, I
But then I
would
was
lose
like,
on purpose.
but then I was like, well, that might be a reward for Ryan. So
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's win-win for me. Like I just lose on purpose.
So.
Oh wait. I have always been grossed out by drinking the fluid in the can.
drink the Vienna drink.
Yeah, drink the juice.
So now you know Vienna sausages is mostly just chicken, right? You
Yeah.
like chicken.
You like chicken, right?
That's all right.
Okay, so let me ask you this: how do you feel about the concept of canned meats? Do you like canned?
No.
I'm actually really into. So no Vienna sausages.
I like sardines,
I mean,
and they're supposed to be good for you.
Yeah. Do you like?
I'll-
Do you like spam?
I will eat canned meat when like if I have to, but if I'm gonna buy like stuff, I'd rather like if I need shredded meat for something, I'd rather like just buy chicken breast and like just make it myself.
Shanae, you've never gone to a restaurant and bought masubi, and you're like, yes, I'm gonna eat that.
No.
No, wow.
So you don't like deviled ham?
No.
How do you feel about pickled eggs?
No.
To be honest, I'm not really into that idea either.
I'm not a huge egg person in general.
Oh, you got to drink the pickling fluid of the pickled egg jar.
Egg juice.
Egg juice. You got to drink the egg juice. That's a good idea.
Well,
But on another bonus that Ryan got from winning Can I Finish is at the end of the show he also gets to talk about whatever he wants.
right. You get to promote something,
I want to
game related or not.
like, yeah. This is all still very new to me.
It's new to all of us.
Winning?
It's episode 101. It's a fresh start.
Yeah.
All right.
This whole thing is very new to me, but I'll get the hang of it. Actually, I'm going to let Shanae do that this week. I'm gonna let you have that one.
Cool.
Okay.
Oh.
Can I cry?
No.
No, you cannot.
I'm done with your
You
crying.
cannot
Alright?
cry. No.
We're done with your crying. All right. So Shanae, I'd like to pose the same question to you.
What is a man?
The miserable pilot of secrets.
I do feel like I do agree with Tommy on some aspects. Like some things like Edith Finch aren't video games per se, and like I said, I call it a visual novel. But I do think video games at this point is just a broad term. When people like want to like specify after that, like if someone's like, oh, I play video games, or I'm at least like somewhat like into them, then you'd be like, oh, it's an RPG or an FPS or a visual novel, and then describe it more. Like I feel like we do have those terms. Maybe not everybody uses them, but I don't But as far as video games, like I think it's fine as a broad term. But if we want to talk about what an actual video game is, in my opinion, it is something that um you have to do something. Well, you have to be able to fail, basically.
Okay.
I feel like if you can possibly lose it, then it's a game.
Okay.
If it's just like an adventure where like you don't lose it, you just can't progress.
Then what's jump roping?
Jump roping?
Is jump roping a game?
Yeah, because you can fail at that. You can be bad at jump roping.
Okay.
That's true. I'm bad at jump roping.
I I don't know how I am anymore.
Right.
Uh,
But
but yeah, as far as like what I think a video game is, I think it's something basically that you can fail at
Okay.
to simplify it. Just something that challenges you. It doesn't have to challenge you much. Like there is things I consider video games that like the Lego games that are basically all you have to do is make sure you if you're stuck anywhere, just look for a pile of bricks moving and press X. You're not
Yeah.
actually building it. But it still has a lot of like I mean obviously it has platforming and other gamey things to it,
Sure.
even though it is easy.
okay. Do you think that a good story can carry bad gameplay?
Yes.
Okay. Can you think of an example when that has happened?
I mean, the example pops up to my mind is what is the name of it? I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's just a Japanese name, anyways.
Okay.
But this Japanese Otome game I played, like all the choices were really dumb and basically the same thing. So it wasn't really like playing a game
Okay.
or like having like it's obvious like any of these except for that one are gonna give you like a better ending.
Okay.
So like as far as that, like as far as the Tomy games go, like gameplay does matter in the fact like what are your answers gonna be? Like is it super obvious? So I guess like that had a really good story, but as far as actually playing through it was kind of boring because I didn't feel like I had any real choices in it.
Okay. Just as an aside, because it just reminds me of something that you said a moment ago, and this is also motivated by my almost complete ignorance on the subject. Can you lose at an Otomi?
Yes.
Okay.
There's plenty of them that you die or don't get any romances, or like there's also like because like a lot of people are trying to get a specific boyfriend when they go through a route, or they start off just like seeing all the personalities and then picking there. But normally, if you want to get any of their endings, you have to kind of stick with one guy for that playthrough. So there's plenty of answers that are going to turn him off. A lot of them have puzzles in them. A lot of them have like some sort of interactive thing in it.
Okay.
A lot of them are like stat building, like like you may be doing all the right answers for this guy, but you haven't put any skills in art, so he's not gonna like fuck with you.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about Heavy Rain? Heavy Rain, you cannot lose at.
Right.
You die, the story continues on without that character.
Right.
But you can still fail at it. Like you can still have all the people die. Like if you're
But the story still ends. Like it still comes to a conclusion, you know?
Right. So if we're talking about an experience where what would be considered the win condition is whether or not you complete the story,
Sure.
then in that capacity you can't lose Heavy Rain.
well, if you want to get
And to be clear, I would lump Heavy Rain in with stuff like Edith Finch and all that, you
Okay.
know? But
I would necessarily-
on that note, you know, that is not something you can really
I
lose.
wouldn't, because what you do is affecting like I guess like I was compared to Edith Finch, Heavy Rain, like there's plenty of things that you did that really affected the outcome. And if you wanted a specific outcome where they all live, then that's a challenge.
Right.
There's no like outcome in Edith Finch where they're all gonna win or are all gonna live or
So-
any of them.
So then there's the desire of each individual player determines whether that's a game then?
Yeah, I can get behind that
Well, see,
thought process.
here's a thing to take into consideration too. So I didn't play Heavy Rain, but I did play Indigo Prophecy, or as it's known overseas, Fahrenheit. And when you play that, it doesn't say new game or load game. It says new movie or load movie. So, like, is that in and of itself it not considering itself to be a video game?
I don't know. I mean, I think it doesn't really matter what. Like, creators' intent is important to me.
Right.
But whether they see their product as a game or not has no effect on what I think of it.
Yeah.
You know?
So I want to pose the same question to you. Do you feel that a good story can carry bad gameplay?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got what I think is probably the strongest example of it. The last 5 Naughty Dog games,
Okay.
the entire Uncharted series and The Last of Us, I don't think that I wouldn't call the gameplay in those games bad. I enjoy those games tremendously. I love those games.
Would you
not
say
exactly
it's mediocre?
Stellar though.
I would say the shooting has been done significantly better. The stealth has been done significantly better. The platforming, the crafting has been done better in many other games.
Sure.
It is the story and the acting and the performances that bring those together.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's what I look for in those games. I don't go into Uncharted because I want a good shooting game. I don't.
Right.
You know.
And I'm glad that you actually brought that up because there were I didn't actually play through Uncharted 3 until just before
I remember
4 came out.
Yeah.
Oh,
And what's up?
oh, nothing.
And I just remember to be honest, through most of it, I was not in the combat section. I was just not enjoying myself. But I wanted to see where that story was going because I've just become invested in
Right.
those characters.
And Uncharted 3 has a great story, as do all of those games.
Yeah.
But that's definitely where that studio's strengths are.
Yeah.
You know.
And I kind of feel like we definitely saw that in, The Last of Us. And it's funny because I actually enjoy the combat and the stealth and everything else in The Last of Us quite a bit more than I enjoyed it in Uncharted. And I also, enjoy that story quite a bit too. So it's weird because it is an example though in Uncharted where, that story kind of carried me through that series because I didn't really start enjoying the gameplay in those games very much until Uncharted 4.
I guess that's what I'm getting at, right? If Uncharted or The Last of Us came out with the exact same gameplay mechanics but a bad story, nobody would be into those games.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are into those games because of the stories they tell.
Assassin's Creed 1.
Assassin's Creed 1's story didn't get me. What did get me with Assassin's Creed 1, which is the only Assassin's Creed that I've ever finished besides the PSP one, was the historical authenticity of that game, which has since left that franchise.
I mean, they still have definitely historical fun facts kind of in there more than
Sure, but with
but more than that, and they still have some things right, but they do take a lot of liberties.
Right.
But I think the historical authenticity of the first one, plus the story of how they're going about it, I think was much better than the gameplay.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole thing with Assassin's Creed 1 that has not continued throughout that series is every single person you assassinate in the first Assassin's Creed is somebody who's historically disappeared around that time.
Right.
I think that's badass. That's what made me want to play that game.
Because I do remember that you said you weren't really into the gameplay
Still not.
of Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, I'm still not.
And it hasn't really changed that much
Yes,
over the past
1
10
to
years.
2 is much different.
Sure.
Okay.
People point to that very frequently, right?
Yeah.
That Assassin's Creed 2 was a huge leap forward.
Assassin's Creed 2, I think, is a go-to for a lot of people's favorite in the franchise. But playing through that series over the past decade, I feel like that's where the innovation had stopped for me. But I guess I at the same time I was never really that invested into Assassin's Creed either.
Well, look, now you're going to Egypt, all right?
Yeah.
You know what they do in Egypt? I don't.
Mummies.
That's right.
Mummies.
I actually do hope that there are some mummies in that game.
Mumra confirmed.
Mumra confirmed. Well,
Nice.
see, I feel like mummies aren't outside of the realm of possibility for that to be in that game because in the I guess the trailer, I guess you want to call it, there was a giant serpent.
What was that Mummies TV show?
Mummies Alive?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just talking about that show the other day with somebody.
Was there a game?
I think so. I think there was a mummy. I think, but most of the kids shows around that time came out with a video game.
Because like immediately my brain is like, oh yeah, there's that fighting game. I was like, no, that's Darkstalkers. Like that is not.
That does have a mummy
alive.
in it, though.
Right? Which is why that popped into my head.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And surprisingly, that's not the only fighting game that I can think of that has a mummy in it.
Mm-hmm.
Shaq
Shaq
Fu also has a mummy in it.
Shaq Fu kind of has. Oh well, I guess that's debatable. So
What do you think?
The boss of Shaq Fu, which I forget his name, is basically a mummy with shoulder pads.
Right. Set Ra was his name.
Okay. But there is another character named Memphis who has like tattered rags that looks very mummy-like, but I don't know that he
So
is a
you could
mummy.
say that there are possibly 2 mummies in Shaq Fu?
Could be. Yeah.
Could be.
There's a free Halloween Atomi game that you
Okay.
can romance a mummy.
Like, is it an actual mummy or someone dressed as a mummy?
Shanae, you like romance and weird things.
If
First
you,
it was horses.
Yeah.
no, first it was
now it's-
mummies, then it was
Oh, okay.
horses.
Wait,
Let's get the
so-
order right. Mummies, werewolf, Dracula, then horses.
Wait,
also
hold
like-
on. I
I
didn't know
also-
about the Dracula thing.
I also like how you didn't deny that you wanted to romance horses.
Well, at this point,
Yeah.
there's just no denying it. Like, I try to play it off, but I just want to romance horses, man.
Also, I feel like it says a bit that I'm more surprised by the Dracula thing than the horse thing. But I don't know. So, Tom,
What?
I had a question specifically for you, actually.
I have an answer.
All right, so we talked about how you feel like the term walking simulator to describe games such as Gone Home or Firewatch is a bit of a misnomer.
Yes.
What do you think specifically about that term, and how do you prefer to refer to those?
So I used Walking Simulator for a while, as a lot of other people did.
Right.
Because that's just what people knew those games as.
Right.
Like with video games.
Sure.
Right? Like the term video games. But then I started thinking about it, and I'm like, there are a tremendous amount of games in which we walk.
I was
Right.
thinking about that today, yeah.
We walk in a lot of games.
Do a lot of walking in Turok.
Yeah, I think it's kind of reductive, you know. So like, I started thinking of other terms, and the term that people have seemed to have settled on is FPI, first person interactive,
Sure.
which I think is a better term. But at the same time, are we not interacting when we play Doom?
Sure.
Is that not a first person game in which you interact?
I had texted you guys a term that I actually liked. Let me see if I can find it.
I'm sticking with visual novel.
Well, but at the same time, they're not all visual novels, though, right?
Right.
Some are.
Well, some are, but like to use that as a blanket term for all of them would be kind of
Incorrect.
yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be misleading.
Which I think that's just it. Which Shanae, you know, spoke on earlier. I think like maybe we do need these blanket terms.
Yeah.
And not everything's going to fit into them, but you know what I'm talking about when I say visual novel.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about when I say walking simulator.
Right.
And maybe that's what's important, as long as it's not insulting
Yeah. I
or
Intention.
reductive.
I
You know?
I do feel like the term.
But I do think walking simulator is a reductive term.
yeah,
I don't think first person interactive is.
yeah, I think that walking simulator is something that's can definitely be construed as insulting.
Right.
Considering what these people are putting into these experiences, right? Like for example, to look at an experience like Firewatch or Edith Finch and just call it a walking simulator, which is kind of to ignore everything that happens around that,
Right.
Like
the term immersive sim has been thrown around a lot, and that's used to describe games like Deus Ex.
yeah.
But like, is that not also an RPG? Is that not also a first-person shooter? Like, Shanae's right. There does need to be a blanket term for everything. I just think it doesn't need to be so.
Yeah.
I
I heard narrative exploration.
don't think that's bad.
Uh,
But once again, much like first-person interactive, I think that applies to games outside that genre.
sure.
You know.
Sure. Because go ahead.
Oh, sorry. But I mean, there's plenty of games that fall into multiple categories, but just by having one aspect of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Not necessarily to just reiterate, but I mean, I don't think that putting something in like 7 different categories is really gonna help
It's not
terribly
helpful.
much.
Yeah.
Right.
But like, there's no way else to do it. Like it's the same with music. People are like, oh, this is this genre, but it's also like this genre because like this album for like whatever band.
And I feel like that's even more easily defined than video games are, you know?
I mean, if someone like, I honestly, I have such a hard time telling the difference between swamp or death metal. Like,
Well,
I
Sure,
don't think I don't
sure.
think it's like.
I'm
I
not
don't-
saying it's easy to define, but I think it's easier than video games.
But I think also that with music, we kind of have the thing where a lot of the ways that's a lot of the time I see that stuff marketed as for fans of this band.
Yeah.
You'll like this band.
It's the same thing on Steam.
Yeah.
You liked this game, here's other games like it.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know.
I think that, I think that walking simulator is definitely, personally, is definitely something that, I want to see go away.
And it is.
Actually, I was talking about, because you and I are currently, well, I finished it and you're currently working your way through Hellblade.
Mm-hmm.
I actually saw someone refer to that as a walking simulator.
I've seen a lot of people refer to it as such, yeah.
What do you think?
No.
Why do you think that people are referring to it as such?
I think that the people that are referring to it as such have played the other Ninja Theory games and were expecting Hellblade to be the same.
Right.
Whereas, Hellblade has combat, but not a lot of it.
Yeah.
But like if you think about what people typically use the term walking simulator to describe, right? Games like Firewatch, games like Gone Home, Hellblade is not that.
Right.
Right? You cannot interact with most of the things in the environment in Hellblade.
Sure.
There are very few things you can interact with in Hellblade.
Like it points you to very specific things to
Right.
interact with in that
Right.
game. Like combat is not, combat isn't the focus of that game, right? It's there, it is to tell a story. But I don't think that game has very many, like, in terms of mechanics. I don't think it has very many similarities to something like Gone Home or or Firewatch or
Right.
anything like that. Shanae, have you gotten a chance to look at Hellblade at all?
No.
Okay. I think that's a game that, from a storytelling standpoint, will probably like really resonate with you, like as somebody who's like very because you've always struck me as like a very empathetic person.
Thank you.
So like I think that you're really going to like feel something for Senua, the titular character of that game.
It's funny that you say that. We were talking before the show about the development diaries of this game.
Yeah.
This game has been it's the most open development that I've seen of a game.
Right.
And part of that was talking about the importance of being empathetic with the title
Yeah.
and the subject matter in the title.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you said that.
Yeah. And I think it's also because the game tells you like up front, like right when you start it up, it tells you that the game is dealing with themes of of psychosis and things like that.
Oh, it's gonna make me sad.
It might. It's not a very happy story. And I think, and especially if you've ever met somebody or known somebody who suffers from that sort of thing, it kind of hits a little harder that way. But if you're an otherwise like empathetic person, and it does have that kind of impact. Leading into that though, Shanae, what is your in this particular genre, whatever we're gonna call it, what would you say is your favorite?
What's the term we want to use for this?
I mean, you can
First-person
use-
interactive. Is that
I
the one
mean-
we like the best?
I mean, that's fine.
Would Limbo count in this
No.
category?
Well,
Puzzle platformer.
and
Oh,
it's
you're
not
right.
first
You're
person.
right. You're right. Oh, and you're right. It's not first person either.
I will also extend this to visual novels.
Ooh. Trying doing that. Probably, if we're gonna extend it to all like other visual novels, probably Nameless.
Okay.
The one, I did check it out on it.
The one you must recall.
The
but
one you must
cannot
recall.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
the name you want to touch, but you mustn't touch.
Yeah. I they're actually yeah, it was almost there's a lot of parts of it that were almost like satire, and there's not really any puzzling necessarily in that one.
Okay.
Uh but yeah, I liked all the watercolors and stuff. I
Yeah.
think but as far as I mean if we're going to extend it to it as well, I mean you said that we're counting Heavy Rain in it. I really enjoyed Heavy Rain.
Okay.
I played through that a bunch, and then also like because if you bought it brand new, it came with a little origami paper and told you how to do it for like
Right.
the little origami killer. And I sat there for like at least an hour and a half while like I let my roommate take a turn and
Learning
like
your
just like just
origamis.
oh yeah, just doing all these different origamis.
Yeah.
I made like 70 goddamn swans.
Yeah. Make me a swan.
I can't. I lied. I'm really bad at it. I kept looking at YouTube tutorials and then getting sad.
Like we got a real bullshit artist here. What about you, Tom?
Easily What Remains of Edith Finch.
Yeah.
Yeah, that game is my favorite game so far this year, and to me that's saying a lot. A lot of good games came out this year.
Yeah.
You know, I liked it better than Breath of the Wild. I liked it better. Well, so far what I played of Hellblade. Yeah,
You haven't given Persona a chance.
I haven't, but I will. But yeah, I mean, so far that is my favorite game this year.
I have a question.
Okay.
For either of you. If you could add, sorry, if you could add, not necessarily just for this genre of like Edith Finch, Heavy Rain, visual novels, whatever. If you could add any genre, or any like name for a group of games, to the industry to be used regularly, what would it be, and what games would fall into that category? That you think is not like super defined at this point, but you would like to tell somebody like, hey, it's this phrase, and they get like generally what kind of gameplay it is.
Sure.
Physics Racer.
Physics Racer?
Yeah.
What
There
falls
are a
under it?
lot of games that that are not like they are within the genre of arcade racer, but they are more than just that. Games like Flat Out, games like Burnout, these games have a more in-depth physics engine than most arcade racers do, than certainly any kart racers do, and than most simulation racers do.
Right.
That is what those games specialize in, and there's nothing to applaud that.
Yeah. What about games like Trials?
Trials is physics-based, sure.
It's funny though because like
It's hard to call Trials a racing game
Yeah.
because yes, in theory, you're trying to get better times and all that, but
Yeah.
really, if you just finish it, you're moving on.
Yeah.
You know.
Because like for a game like that, like if you're not looking at even looking at video, it might be hard to tell. But for a game like that, like to know that it's like got physics-based stuff in it, like you kind of have to rely on them including that in the description of the game.
Sure, and the games that I'm talking about, the amount of work and detail that goes into 3D rendering is just far and away above anything that Trials has done,
Sure.
that Gran Turismo or Forza have done.
Yeah.
And yes, part of that is due to the fact that they're not using licensed vehicles and all that, but so they can do that stuff.
Like, are you talking like about like with like damage modeling and shit?
Sure, damage modeling, the way things move, the way things feel.
Yeah.
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 I think there needs to be a defined term because people typically just lump those in with arcade racer.
Right.
And they are arcadey racing games,
Sure.
typically.
Sure.
But there are ones that are not. There is a game that's still in early access. It's been in early access for fucking years. It was called Next Car Game. I believe it's now called Wrecked.
Okay. Apostrophe D.
I don't remember.
Okay.
But anyhow, the game's been in early access for way too long. I think it still is. Should be out already.
Yeah.
But the physics engine in that game is so impressive that they just give you an open playing field with all these crazy objects they've created just for you to fuck around and experiment with to see what can be done.
Right.
You're not going to get that in Forza.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to get that in Ridge Racer.
Yeah.
Or Mario Kart for that matter. And I think it's one of the it's an underrepresented genre.
You know, honestly, for when I think about every other kind of video game, I've generally been okay with the with how we're labeling them now. I never given any thought to the physics-based thing, the physics racer thing. I do take umbrage though with how often I still see, The Legend of Zelda being referred to as like a role-playing game. When it is not that.
So there's a lot of people that disagree on that. What I think of when I think of that is my dad. You know, when I was younger, I forget what he was playing. He was playing some computer game that was like a fucking shooter or something like that, right? And I'm talking about it, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm playing this role-playing game."
Uh-oh.
I'm like, "That's not a role-playing game. You're not increasing stats or whatever, you know." And my dad, and along with a lot of older people older than we are, believe it or not, they're out there,
That's surprising.
refer to a game in which you are playing a role as a role-playing game. What they do not realize is that is not where the term role-playing game, RPG, comes from when we're talking about video games.
Yeah.
You know? So no, with that reasoning, no, I would not consider most Zelda games to be role-playing games. I think there are some that are.
But at the same time, we can't even unanimously agree as to whether or not Smash Brothers is a fighting game. So,
I think most people agree that it is.
Yeah.
Let's see what I got here. All right. So, I'll start with you, Shanae. If it weren't mandatory, like if they didn't have to be there, would you still have developers include trophies or achievements for games in the first-person interactive category?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Because I think there's nothing wrong with liking your score on like Xbox or PlayStation or Steam or whatever. I think there's nothing wrong with wanting to like 100% something. And I think that it also, when I do it, like it gives me kind of a point of reference of like how long I've been playing the game. And I'm like, oh,
Sure.
a lot of things have been popping up. And oh shit, I've been doing this for 3 hours.
Yeah.
I need to get shit done in my life. So that has definitely happened before. So I'm okay with it. Whatever makes someone happy, it doesn't like affect me in any way because I don't care about that. I think, and also I regularly, or in the past I used to regularly change names, so my score was always like super low on everything, and I'm like, don't care, I'm still playing it.
I'm wondering who you're trying to escape from, changing your name like that.
I've been on the lam for a long time.
What about you, Tom? What do you think?
As somebody who spends a lot of time getting trophies and achievements,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, when I was big into Xbox, I had the highest gamer score of my friends list, right?
Baller.
With PlayStation trophies for a long time, until I had as many friends as I do on there now, when it was just people I actually know in real life.
Sure.
I had the highest trophy level of my friends, right?
Congratulations.
Corey
Now there's
came.
people like Corey that are like way, way far ahead of me.
Demolished you.
That being said, no, I do not think it should be mandatory. You know, as you might recall, PlayStation 3 early releases did not have trophy support.
Right.
Games on Steam are not required to have achievements. I think Xbox seems to be the most strict on it.
Yeah.
In that you must have gamer score,
Like
and it
there's like a
must
minimum.
equate to this much determined by the cost of the product.
Right.
Which I think is strange. I think that as a creator, if you are making a game that you want somebody to play for just the story,
Yeah.
and you don't want them to worry about trying to get this thing, right? I think it'd be very appealing if I was a developer, to say, yeah, no, I'm not going to have any trophies.
Yeah.
There are certain games that have very few, and PlayStation allows this. There are PlayStation games with 1 trophy.
Right.
There are Steam games with 1 achievement.
Right.
You know, but I think if you don't want to have them, you shouldn't have to.
Oh, I haven't really played like messed around with Xbox that much, so I recently said I totally forgot that they have to have a certain number.
I don't know if that's still the way, but at least on 360, that's how it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
$60 game had 2,000, I think it was. 2,000 or 20,000?
It's 2,000, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
And then
2,000, yeah.
like a $30 game was at another point, you know,
Yeah.
so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's stupid. But yeah, that's stupid.
There have been times when and I know that I'm pretty sure there's a way to disable it, but at the same time, like, there have been times where there was like a really great story point that was like unfolding in front of me, and that shit just got fucked
Popped up.
It got fucked up. Like, the whole mood got ruined because of that notification.
Yeah, you can disable it on Steam and PlayStation. I would assume you can on Xbox.
Yeah. Like, that's, you know, that happened a few times. Like, and, you know, with you know, typical like action games, like if I'm playing, you know, Metal Gear Rising, I'm not gonna give a shit.
Right.
But if I'm playing you know, The Last of Us, and
Well, it's like you said, you're playing Gone Home right now.
yeah,
You know,
I don't want that going down.
which is funny because the developers put this in. You know, developers make the trophies, and
Right.
not the platform holders, right?
Right.
But like, Gone Home has a speedrun trophy.
I feel like that's a game that you want to take your
Yeah,
time.
I feel like you're missing the point of that game.
Yeah.
Then, but you know, they don't. Fulbright doesn't. Steve Gaynor doesn't feel that way. So
Yeah, it's really weird to be tone deaf about your own project.
yeah.
You know, so it goes. Tom, where would you like to see that genre go next?
I think I'd like to see more like Firewatch and more like Edith Finch. There are games like Gone Home. I really love Gone Home. There are things about Gone Home that I've not seen done as well in other games, right? Like Gone Home, compared to Edith Finch, there are more objects I can interact with in Gone Home, right? I can go into the living room and pick up a VHS tape and see the label, or pick up a TV guide and flip through it and see programming from that time that I remember, and I think that's very powerful. That being said, games like Edith Finch and Firewatch give you a little bit more to do. You know, you're not killing guys, you're not leveling up, but it does give you a little bit more to do.
Yeah.
And I like that. I do not want them to go, and I don't want Firewatch to be a fucking Call of Duty, you know.
But
I
you know,
don't want that,
The level
but-
of interaction that you have in Firewatch is more engaging.
Yeah,
right?
the fact that I've got a fun saver that I can take a set amount of pictures with and,
Yeah.
and shit like that. Like I like that.
What about you, Shanae?
Repeat the question.
Where would you like to see the genre go next?
Let's see it go in the dumpster. Am I right?
Yeah.
No, yeah. Sorry, I kind of like got like a little ADD there, but yeah. When you asked the question originally, the first thing that popped in my head was having it partnered with like Marvel or DC or some comic book thing and going through comic book stories in
Sure.
a first person interactive. I think it'd be super fun, especially like horror ones.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Do you not feel like that's kind of what Telltale has done? I mean, it's not first person, but
Sure.
like they're no longer point and click adventure games.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they're not.
I
Yeah.
guess.
Like
I guess
Yeah.
they are more similar to David Cage games than they are to LucasArts games.
Yeah.
You know.
Because there's a lot of action sequences with time prompts.
Right.
And, you know.
All right.
Because I think it'd be fun to do like a first person interactive thing of like the new Miss Marvel and like seeing what her story is, like
Yeah.
like have it be like a precursor game to like a movie coming out. Even then, like you can use scenes from the movie. I think the genre opens itself a lot to adding more, like obviously adding more depth to different medias pretty easily.
Do you guys know the reason we don't have a lot of first person licensed games?
I don't.
Because people want to see those characters.
That
When
makes-
it is
that
an
makes
original
sense.
story, you want to be the character. But when
That
you
makes
were
sense.
when you were playing as the Hulk or when you were playing as Spider-Gwen, you want to see that character.
Sure. And I was actually just thinking while you were talking about it, Shanae, that I feel like it would be more interesting to be a bystander in those stories.
Oh, that'd be cool.
You know, like I feel like it would be interesting to be a bystander when Spider-Man first makes his debut. You know,
You want to be Macy Gray
yeah.
when he comes
Like,
swinging
I
in.
want him to
Oh,
interrupt my
Macy Gray?
concert.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
or you know, have a murder ball and I'll be Slipknot in that game.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
But
It also would lend itself well to like a better Saw game, or
yeah,
like obviously horror genre is pretty good in it.
We already have 999. That's the best Saw game you're gonna get.
no, I think that the Saw game is the best Saw game you're gonna get.
No.
Okay,
No.
so let's put
you
that to
play
bed
it?
right now. No, of course not. I lived it. All right, I saw all those movies. All right,
All of them?
I actually have seen every Saw movie. Yes.
Holy shit!
I've only seen the first one. I liked it though.
Dude,
I've seen,
every Halloween for like 5 or 6 years, I was at the theater watching Saw
I
movies.
feel like there was like 9 of them.
Yeah, and they're coming out with another one, and I'm
No way.
I'm
But
excited.
this one
I'll watch it with
is
you.
not called Saw.
Oh, fuck that. then.
What's the guy's name?
Jigsaw.
Yeah, I think it's called Jigsaw.
Yeah.
I thought it was weird that Jigsaw made like an appearance in Dead Silence.
Did
but-
you see the trailer for Jigsaw, Shanae?
No, I
Do
didn't
you
know
know-
this was a thing existed.
Yeah, dude, and the song they use is Getting Jiggy with It.
Nice.
Are you lying?
Yeah, I'm lying.
Aw. I got super excited.
Because
I was like,
I don't even know if there's a trailer.
I was thinking, and I was like, that sounds too perfect.
Pay me to make your trailers.
you should. That'd be a great job.
Here's a question: could these stories be told as movies? And do you think that something like a visual novel would be less impactful if it were an actual novel?
I think that there are certain ones that could be told as movies or be actual novels, and I think there are certain ones that cannot. In the case of Edith Finch, I think that reading about being a baby in a bathtub playing with bath toys, or watching a movie of a baby in a bathtub playing with bath toys, is not as immersive, cannot be as immersive
Sure.
as you controlling that baby,
Right.
playing with your fucking frog.
Also,
you
I
know.
think it's I think it'd be a little bit harder to deal with the death of a baby if you weren't playing it.
Yeah, sure,
Like
absolutely.
just like
There are some,
watching a baby die in a bathtub, not great.
In some ways, it could be more powerful, and in some ways, I think it would be less powerful. I think it just depends. Title,
Yeah.
you know.
Uh,
Firewatch, which they are making a movie of, I think it can be an awesome movie.
Sure.
Will it be? Probably not, but hopefully, you know.
would you watch Gone Home?
Yeah, I'd watch Gone Home. I think
Gone Home by Michael Bay.
Gone Home exists to me much like Emily's Away exists in a vacuum, to where like Gone Home was powerful to me the first time I played it.
Right.
And now that I know the story of Gone Home, it will never have that impact on me again.
Well, what I'm saying is, like, assuming that these games didn't exist and the movie existed in their place, do you think that if you had watched Gone Home as a movie, it would have impacted you the same way?
I think it would depend on who the cast is, which the cast would be one person.
Right.
In Gone Home's case. Ryan, I know you've seen it. Sinead, you ever seen the movie Four Rooms?
Nope.
So Four Rooms stars Tim Roth, along with a lot of other people. Madonna's in there, Antonio Banderas is in there, but
San Antonio Banderas.
yeah, but it mostly stars Tim Roth, and Tim Roth, his take on this movie is playing this bellhop. He was most inspired by Charlie Chaplin, and how do you emote and express things with very little talking? That character does speak, but that character has very, very few lines of dialogue in that film.
Right.
And I think with something like Gone Home, you have to have an actress that can do that.
Sure.
How do you make a movie with almost no dialogue?
Sure.
You know, other than the thoughts going through your head.
Sure.
You know,
Because, I mean,
Sorry.
based on what I know, based on what I know, the main character, she's by herself the entire thing, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's one other movie. There's actually another movie that's
And it's dicey marketing a movie like that the
Yeah.
way that game was marketed.
yeah.
You know, a lot of people thought Gone Home was a horror game when they first bought it. It's not,
Yeah,
but you know,
like even thinking back, like the cover art can kind of make me
yeah, it's
see
kind of
that.
spooky looking.
Yeah. There's another movie. I don't know if either of you guys have heard of it. It's called Nightingale. So the whole movie takes place inside one house, like kind of like Gone Home, except like the setup for the movie is it's this guy who at the beginning of the movie it's made clear to you that he had murdered his mom, and like the whole movie is him having conversations with people like over the phone and like living his life and like updating his video journal, talking about like his day to day and like all the things that he's doing and things that he's done. And it's the whole movie is just like one-sided conversation and like all this this external monologue that he's having. It's actually really neat.
See, and in that, you know, you saying it takes place in one home, and earlier you and I were talking about Reservoir Dogs,
Yeah.
along with Clerks,
Yeah.
and how those are filmed in one location. I think that is where, you know, a movie like Gone Home, if they were to make a Gone Home movie, I think it has a better chance at success than something like Assassin's Creed or World of Warcraft.
Right.
Because there is such a low risk.
Yeah.
You're not spending a lot of money to make a Gone Home movie.
Sure.
So you don't need to make a lot of money.
Who would you cast if?
For Gone Home? Mm-hmm. Oh man, there was actually a few characters like going through my mind. For some reason, I don't know why, but my mind keeps keeps wandering to Nev Campbell. I don't know. I think that a movie like that, I'd like to see like some fresh-faced newcomer.
They'd have to have a really like calming voice. So like what? Because I'm assuming they would probably narrate the thoughts.
Well, I guess it wouldn't even have to technically be her voice either. It'd just be someone else.
Who's that lady? I never remember her name. And it'd have to be when she was younger, but the actress in Death to Smoochie.
Oh, Catherine Keener?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She would be great.
I mean, she'd have to be a little younger,
Yeah.
but I think she'd be good.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about Edith Finch, and like Edith Finch was like on my mind as I was thinking about this week, and
Well, and also you're playing Gone Home this week
Yeah.
for the first time.
and the stories that we went through, like it's weird because for Shanae and I, this was a completely passive experience because you were you had the controls the entire time, but I just feel like that story could have been told any other way. And I feel like you could have told it, but it wouldn't have had the impact.
Yeah, for sure.
know.
There's things like Shanae said. I do think certain things would be more powerful
Yeah.
in other mediums, but I think overall, that game needs to be played.
Yeah. So let's see. All right. So aside from story, and this is, and I had an answer in my head when I wrote this, but aside from story, what would you say is the most important part of these games?
Environment,
Okay.
level design, with games like, with all three of the ones that we're mostly talking about, Gone Home, What Remains of Edith Finch, and Firewatch, none of these have like huge environments. They're all pretty closed in, considering, like, if you could consider most other games, right? But they're all connected so well. I don't know how far you are in Gone Home, so I don't want to ruin anything for you. But they're all connected extremely well in that, when you start up Edith Finch, there's a lot of people that live in that house.
Yeah. Like 5.
And there are some parts that are locked off, but you don't really naturally go to those locked off places. You naturally go in the order that the game wants you to go in, even though you don't have to. Firewatch is a little bit different. There is a map to be used, but like those 3 games, along with a handful of others, kind of lead the player along, in which, like, you know, you start up Gone Home, you go where the fuck you want.
Sure.
You know, so I think there's a lot to be said for that, and that is partly due to level design, partly due to other things, item placement, lighting, that sort of thing. There are visual cues that game designers put in games to tell the player, "Hey, go here," without telling you, "Hey, go here."
Yeah.
You know, I think we've gotten past. Not just in these kinds of games, in all games, I think we should be past the point of having the giant arrow pointing you to the next place to go.
Sure.
Depending on the genre.
Even if it's something like Grand Theft fucking Auto, I don't think that's
What about
anything.
Lego games? Like things for kids.
Lego games are so linear. Like even the open world Lego games, even Lego Marvel Superheroes and Lego Batman 3 are so linear, even being open, that you don't really need that.
I don't,
You know.
but I mean, like children do,
Yeah.
and I do sometimes.
That was the thing that bothered me most about Dead Space.
About
I don't need that line on the floor.
hand line.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Shay? What would you say in speaking specifically about first-person interactive games? What would you say, aside from the story that they're telling, is the most important part?
I mean, I can go on aesthetics as well because I do agree with that. But
Sure.
another thing that is I feel like is pretty important is obviously the sounds, the ASMR, the like the music behind it when
Sure.
it goes quiet, when it doesn't.
Yeah.
There was a lot of with Edith Finch. There was a lot of times where they're turning the pages, and I was like, oh, that just like sounds good.
Like, yeah.
It just sounds good.
Yeah.
And it's like it helps with the immersion a lot, and it helps just bring more to the story.
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree. You know, a large part of Edith Finch, which I think also kind of helped me with Hellblade as well, is that the world, like everything, like the environment in both of those titles, it just feels like almost like a dream. Mm-hmm. Like it feels like you're like just like walking your way through this dream, and it's kind of it puts you in kind of that mindset. Go ahead.
I think it's because, like when you do dream, a lot of times you know somebody is a person, even if they don't look like it. You
Right.
know that something is happening, even though there's no like clues that it's happening, but you know it. And I feel like it's a very similar experience to a lot of these first-person interactives. Like you know a general like, oh, I gotta get through here, but you don't really know why. And I think that helps with the dreamlike experience.
Yeah.
You guys, I mean, I know you have. Sinead, have you played Uncharted, any of them?
Yes.
Yeah. So, like, remember in the earlier games, what was telling you to go somewhere was that it was yellow?
Yes. We talked about it when we talked about the language in video games. So we talked
And
about
that
that
has
in Mirror's
since
Edge.
that has since changed. That is no longer the case with those games, and I think that shows growth. That shows growth in the level designer and the animators of those games. You know.
Yeah.
Same thing with GTA, right? I mean, I could be wrong. I don't remember GTA 5 having a giant arrow. There's a map and a radar and all
lets
that.
It gives you a GPS system, which I guess
Right.
is
But that
like
is much more immersive.
Yeah,
to me
it's a
than-
believable solution to
Right.
the navigation problem. One of the I remember Sinead, I don't know if you know these games, but Tom, you remember the games The Getaway?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so
I've seen it, but I don't know. I've never played it or anything.
Really early PS2?
2002, 2003. There was basically the games are kind of they say that they're open world, they're not really.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt. London Heist is a spin-off of The Getaway.
Yeah.
What is?
London Heist, the PSVR game.
So when you are driving, like the game, like there is no HUD in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So like you don't know what your health is. Like it doesn't it doesn't show you what your health is, it doesn't show you how many bullets you have in your gun. It doesn't even give you a map to help you figure out from like how to get from one point to another. What it does though is as you're driving, if you need to turn left, then the signal indicators on the car will start flashing to tell you which way to turn.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's little things like that. Now it's not like, and that's kind of the only way to, like, if you're gonna have a game like that where you're driving around in a city and you don't have, and you choose to forego a HUD, then you kind of have to do that, especially if you have a player base who's never been to that city before. So yeah, I think that there are developers who are trying very hard at the onset to get away from that, but it's something that we've kind of grown accustomed to. It's kind of like what we were talking about earlier with things that we've become accustomed to in games now, right? Because you were playing through that Genesis collection. You're playing Streets of Rage 2, and you were like, I'm not going to let myself continue, right?
Right.
And we're talking then, because we were talking about what the reaction people had to the idea that in Hellblade, after you die a certain number of times, then that's it.
Right.
And
like every game used to be that way, and no one complained.
Yeah. And it just, so it's kind of, I wouldn't call it a regression, but I would definitely call it like a shift in, how much people, I guess, can take as far as any kind of narrative-based challenge is concerned.
I mean, here's the thing. I can understand why it's been removed from most games, right? That was something that came about in arcades.
Yeah.
We want people to lose so that they can pump more quarters in so that they can continue, and that's something that carried over into console gaming.
Sure.
I can see why it's gone. But in the case of Hellblade, I think that it makes the game more immersive, and it gives you a level of anxiety that you would not otherwise have. I mean, you'd still be anxious. It's an anxious fucking game, but it adds an even further layer to that.
Yeah, I agree. Sinead, what is an existing game franchise that could do well with an FPI crossover? Or spinoff, rather, I should say.
Obviously Last of Us.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of what Left Behind was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take out the present day Ellie combat sections. If it was just
Yeah.
the parts with Riley, that's pretty much what that game is.
Yeah.
I think Witcher would be really easy to do. Just like one of the characters that is in the story, but not like super in depth done.
Sure.
I think it would be a lot for like world building, and it would be
Okay.
pretty easy. Anything like that.
Witcher. Hello, Witcher.
The Witcher. Yeah, I mean anything with like a deep lore, like Witcher, not really Assassin's Creed because that's kind of, but like World of Warcraft. I mean, I guess not like first-person shooters because Call of Duty wouldn't really do well, but I guess like more RPG sort of things.
Okay.
I mean, not first-person shooters is kind of like maybe not Call of Duty, but I think they're first-person shooters that would do well. Something like a System Shock or a BioShock or like.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
definitely.
BioShock would be super easy to do and
Yeah.
give a real. I think it'd be really fun, and they're known for like being beautiful, anyways. So yeah.
What about you, Tom?
Street Fighter. No, I don't know. I don't know, man. I mean, something interesting because my mind immediately goes to something like System Shock or Dead Space, where you can explore an environment like that. I've yet to play Tacoma, but that just came out this week, and maybe that'll scratch that itch.
Yeah.
I kind of doubt it because it's Fulbright. I think don't get me wrong, I like Fulbright, but I don't think it'll be that kind of game.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it is going to be an FPI game, but I don't think that there will be any horrific elements to it.
Sure.
I
would like to go through the Resident Evil 1 mansion. Like that.
The Spencer Mansion,
I don't remember.
right?
Maybe. But like maybe because that was like on top of like a fucking laboratory, right? So it'd be cool to like be in there like as maybe, one of the scientists that was working there before it got all fucked up. The Last of Us, like you said, except like do Left Behind, like tell the story of Ellie and Riley, but like way before, like that, before the events of before the events of Left Behind, like their life, like maybe when they first met, or like when Ellie was first like coming to her own, or maybe even have you play as Riley, or maybe another kid entirely.
I mean, to me, there has to be an interesting story to tell.
Sure.
And is there anything of significance to tell before that? You know?
Maybe.
Uh,
I think, actually, no, that wouldn't that actually, because I was about to say, fuck, I don't know why I'm blanking on it. It's the Don't Nod game.
Life is Strange.
Life is Strange.
Which is no longer Don't Nod.
Yeah. I was gonna say that could be an interesting FPI, but like then I was like, nah. Like I actually don't think I'd like to play in that world like that, but yeah, you never know.
I don't know. It's funny that like you brought it back around with like what other games could we put into that genre, because people, not everybody, a lot of people love these games, but there's a lot of people that do not like these games and are very vocal about it.
Yeah. Because the whole thing is like they're not games.
Right.
Right.
But it's funny because it's the elements from titles like these is kind of what gave us first-person shooters like Half-Life, like BioShock.
Sure.
You know, people point to Half-Life 1 where you ride the tram and you're going through the fucking laboratory and all that, and good morning, Mr. Freeman, and all this and that.
Dude.
Shit. Those are elements from games like this.
Is there, because I feel like there has to, by now, be some kind of Black Mesa FPI.
I don't know.
There has to be.
I don't know.
If there ought to be.
But, you know, what I'm getting at is, like, it's these elements that inspired those games that you love so much.
Sure.
You know? Yeah, I don't know.
But I would like to move on. I didn't have time to prepare a picture of this person or anything, but
Is it
no,
me?
no,
Okay.
no. But because I feel like that encaps our conversation on there.
I decide.
Okay.
Okay.
You gonna go, Shanae?
With that encaps this conversation.
Yeah, so we talked about doing rotating segments near the end of the show and being kind of a quick just tribute to somebody, or
we call that section the rotators.
No. We're gonna do like highlighting developers, but also I think other people in the communities and history of video games that people should just look up if you're interested in it. The person that I picked is Ted Woolsey. And I've only ever heard the name, not ever heard it, because I've watched interviews, but I just don't remember ever hearing it. He was Square's English localization translator in the 90s. He did things like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 3 and 6, and Secrets of Mana.
Okay.
Like he has had pretty profound impact on as far as English localizations go. A lot of he's even has his own tropes page on TV tropes, because and a lot of people have taken a lot of his methods and a lot of his hints to bring more games from other countries to the U.S. And I just thought I'd give it a shout out if you want to see more works he's done or anything like that.
Right on. He now owes us $23,000 for that
Shit.
plug. So, all right. Right on, Shanae. Hey, I guess this would be the part of the show where you want to plug something. What have you been into lately?
I've just been Game of Thrones is back, as most people know.
Never heard of it.
Okay, well, shit.
Okay.
So Game of Thrones is back, so I've just been watching that. I found a new little phone app thing.
Game of Phones.
Okay. Oh, nice. I like that.
Yeah, and it's this company that does a bunch of different.
Is that Gonzo?
Yeah, that one is gone. That thing's on Gonzo.
Okay.
It's this company that does a bunch of different fandom
What, like
apps.
Muppet Babies?
Yeah. He wasn't a baby there.
Oh.
No. They do a bunch of different apps, for different fandoms.
Okay.
It's Thrones Amino for Ice and Fire. is what the like on the iTunes is called.
Okay.
Like there's like discussion pages, there's like quizzes, there's like theorizing and like good conversations, and it's a nice forum to just kind of just if you're into different fandoms. I think there's like a Harry Potter one I saw and a Doctor Who one, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, if you are into fandoms or want to get more on Game of Thrones,
Can you get more on Muppet Babies?
I'll let me look right now. We have the capability. But yeah, and then I've been.
What?
Well, because you saying that like made me immediately think of whether or not someone
No,
has
there's
written
not.
Muppet Babies fan fiction.
So what you're saying is that app's really not that good then?
Yeah, not that great since it doesn't have Muppet Babies.
What's with you and the Muppet Babies?
I don't know.
Oh, and I just went to their thing, and apparently they do more than fandoms. They do like LGBT chat,
Okay.
furries,
Okay.
crafting,
Okay.
cosplay.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess it's a bunch of stuff. But they also has a Game of Thrones one, and it's super fun.
Shanae, if you were in a cosplay as any character, who would it be? Go.
From the Muppet Babies.
From. Yes, from the, if you were to cosplay as any Muppet Baby,
I feel like Sinead would make a really great Beaker.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think was Beaker ever a Muppet Baby?
Yes?
I remember seeing Bunsen. I don't remember seeing Beaker though.
I don't
Well, if
remember.
Bunsen was there, then Beaker was definitely there.
One would assume.
Yeah.
But you know, Animal was there. The rest of his band wasn't fucking there.
Yeah. Could you imagine the nightmare that Dr. Teeth was as a baby?
Oh, man, yeah.
Gross. Or that
No, it totally was. He's in like a too big shirt.
Oh, yeah, too big a shirt.
yeah. Oh, there's Rolf and there's Scooter and you are more of a Skeeter.
Skeeter?
You look like Scooter.
Those things are terrifying, by the way.
Scooter and Skeeter? Why? Because their
'Cause,
eyes are
like-
in their glasses?
No, because, like, they're the only ones, like, I guess Bunsen and Beaker fit into this as well. We're like, are they people?
No.
You know,
Well,
like
none of them are. Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, are those people? You know? Yeah.
Like, I guess, well,
I don't think we're meant to know.
no. Well, no,
But-
no. I think Scooter and Skeeter are, like, specifically supposed to be, like, gophers or something like that.
I don't think so, dude. If they were gophers, they'd give them some wild teeth or something like that.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think they're like Nanny's actual kids.
That she... That's... Yeah, I think you just... that's a good fan theory.
I'm gonna put it on that app.
Yeah. Put it on the, what's it called? Famino?
Sure.
Well, what's it called, Shanae? Hello?
Amino.
Maybe
And
eating cookies from Keebler. We're kind of like Muppet Babies.
What's it
yeah.
called? What's the app called again?
Amino.
Amino? Okay. The app is called Amino. Go, log into Amino, Tom, and put that fan theory.
Okay.
Make sure your name is Amino Tom.
Okay.
Okay? On that note, guys, that will...
Scooter was supposed to be a gopher.
I was right. That's right.
I don't see it.
That will be the end of this week's Save Continue podcast. Thank you once again for joining us. It's always a pleasure. My name is Ryan Robinson. This is Tom Shelby.
Bye.
Shanae Howard.
Bye.
Later.